Imagine waking up one morning and before you even clock in, your employer has already decided you're too expensive. That's exactly what happened to hundreds of fast food workers across California. Not because they did anything wrong, but because a law designed to help them may have quietly left thousands of them without a paycheck at all. On paper, California's fast food wage hike looked like a win, a guaranteed $20 an hour, a historic raise for some of the hardest working people in the country. But dig beneath the headlines and the story gets complicated fast. Job losses in the tens of thousands, prices climbing, businesses cutting hours, slashing benefits, and swapping humans for kiosks. And right in the middle of it all, a quiet exemption that sent shockwaves through Sacramento. This is the full story. It started with Assembly Bill 1228. Signed into law in the fall of 2023, AB 1228 was a compromise, a scaled-back version of an even more aggressive bill that would have set the wage at $22 an hour. What passed instead was a 25% overnight jump from $16 to $20 per hour, applying to any fast food chain with 60 or more locations nationwide. That meant roughly 750,000 workers across California woke up on April 1st, 2024, no joke, covered by the new law. The bill also created something called the California Fast Food Council, a governing body with the authority to raise that wage further by up to 3.5% per year without going back to the legislature. For workers, this sounded like a permanent safety net. For business owners, it sounded like an open-ended cost they couldn't plan around. But here's the thing, some businesses didn't wait until April 1st to react. They moved months before the law even took effect. By December 2023, Southern California Pizza Co. had already announced it was cutting 841 delivery drivers. Round Table Pizza followed. Pizza Hut let go of roughly 1,200 drivers statewide. These weren't isolated decisions. They were coordinated, preemptive strikes by companies looking to restructure before the new costs hit. Some chains quietly switched from in-house delivery to DoorDash and Uber Eats, which aren't covered by the same wage rules. The message was clear. The jobs weren't gone because the law failed. They were gone because the law was coming. And this was just the beginning. Now here's where the numbers get messy, and this part matters. Depending on who you ask, anywhere between 10,000 and 36,000 fast food jobs disappeared in California after this law passed. The most peer-reviewed estimate comes from the National Bureau of Economic Research. They put the figure at roughly 18,000 jobs lost relative to what employment would have looked like without the law. That's a 3.2% sector-wide decline. The Employment Policies Institute put it closer to 16,000 to 19,000. The Berkeley Research Group found about 10,700 losses and called it the worst employment trend the sector had seen outside of a recession or the pandemic. Here's the twist nobody covered properly. Early government data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics actually showed job gains after the law took effect. Headlines declared the wage hike a success. And then, in March 2025, BLS revised that data. The gains evaporated. The picture flipped. What had looked like growth was actually a 3% decline. Economist Christopher Thornburg, who had been skeptical of early victory claims, put it plainly. Anyone calling this a success was very premature in forming their opinions. And he was right. But if initial data was wrong, who else was working from bad numbers?
For the people actually running these restaurants, the math was brutal from day one. A survey of nearly 200 fast food operators found that 98% had already raised menu prices after the wage hike. 89% had cut employee hours. 35% had reduced benefits. Scott Roderick, who owns 18 McDonald's restaurants in Northern California, said it out loud in a way most executives wouldn't. "I can't charge $20 for a Happy Meal. My customers' appetite to absorb menu board prices is not unlimited." And it wasn't just prices. The kiosks went in faster. Shifts got shorter. Some locations stopped opening during off-peak hours entirely. Altaf Chaus, who owns 3 Burger King franchises in San Jose, described watching his margins compress in real time. He said the overnight 25% increase was something small operators simply couldn't absorb, and many didn't try. They adapted by doing more with fewer people. California restaurant prices climbed 14.5% between September 2023 and October 2024, nearly double the national average for fast food over the same period. Industry critics pointed out that prices in the fast food sector rose 56% faster than sit-down restaurants in California, a gap 5 times wider than the national norm. That gap is almost impossible to explain without the wage law. Here's the part that gets overlooked. For workers who kept their jobs, the raise was real. UC Berkeley researchers found that wages jumped 18% for roughly 90% of non-managerial fast food employees. That's not a rounding error. That's life-changing money for someone living paycheck to paycheck. At February 2025's Fast Food Council meeting, a worker named Veronica Gonzalez stood up and told the room, through a translator, "I cannot live with this wage." She wasn't complaining about $20 an hour, she was asking for more. The painful irony is that some workers got a higher hourly rate and saw their income stay flat, or even drop, because their hours were cut. An estimated 250 fewer hours of work per year wiped out as much as $4,000 in annual income, a pay raise that quietly paid them less. For workers on the margin, that distinction doesn't show up in the headlines. And then there's the controversy hiding in plain sight. Buried inside AB 1228 was a carve-out for restaurants that bake bread and sell it as a standalone menu item. It became known informally as the Panera exemption. On its own, an unusual detail. But then Bloomberg reported something that turned it into a full-blown story. Greg Flynn is the CEO of Flynn Restaurant Group, the world's largest restaurant franchisee operator, running more than 2,600 locations across 44 states. He also owns 24 Panera Bread locations in California, and he had donated more than $220,000 to Governor Newsom's campaigns since 2017, including $100,000 during the 2021 recall election. Flynn and Newsom attended the same high school. When Bloomberg reported that Newsom had personally pushed for the bread exemption, the story exploded. Newsom's office called the report absurd. Flynn publicly said he never lobbied for the carve-out and was surprised to find it in the bill. He then announced his California Panera locations would pay $20 an hour anyway. Republican legislators called for an investigation. The exemption, it turned out, was technically moot. California officials clarified that Panera likely didn't qualify anyway because its dough is mixed off-site, not made fully on premises. But the damage to public trust was done. Whether or not the exemption was written for Flynn, the perception that a billionaire donor's businesses got a quiet break in a worker protection law, that perception didn't go away.
So who's actually right about the data? The honest answer is both sides and neither side, depending on where you look. UC Berkeley's Center on Wage and Employment Dynamics has published multiple peer-reviewed studies finding no meaningful job losses, small price increases, and significant wage gains for workers. These aren't fringe findings. They're from credible economists using real restaurant-level menu data. But the NBER paper, also from credible economists at UC San Diego and Texas A&M, found 18,000 jobs lost when you compare California's trajectory to what it would have been without the law. Both can be true simultaneously. Wages went up, prices went up modestly, and jobs still disappeared, just in ways that are hard to see without the right comparison. The BLS data revision in early 2025 was the moment the narrative cracked. It showed that the victory lap taken in late 2024 was built on unrevised, incomplete employment figures. The full picture took more than a year to emerge, and by then, the law had already been running for 12 months. Which brings us to now. The California Fast Food Council is currently weighing whether to push the minimum wage to $20.70 and potentially $21.40 the year after that.
Restaurant owners sent a letter to Governor Newsom warning that another increase would, in their words, cripple thousands of small business owners. Meanwhile, California voters rejected a separate ballot measure in November 2024 that would have raised the statewide minimum wage to just $18, a lower number than what fast food workers already earn. That vote says something complicated. The same state that passed the $20 fast food law turned around and said no to $18 for everyone else. The public debate about what wages should look like, who deserves a raise, who can afford to give one, and who gets left out entirely is far from over. Here's the real question this whole saga leaves us with. When you raise the floor for some people, do you guarantee a better outcome, or do you sometimes just change who gets hurt? California ran that experiment in real time. The results are still coming in.